I have no idea what my phone just did. Sorry about that. So this is part 2. So as I was saying, if I identified the theme in the first question, how did I come to that answer? So for me, after reading all 4 of these, okay, then the best quote or the best, the best quote from the poem that supports the theme is B. Agile minds, the wit that sits behind our cheeks, who would guess that some of us are geeks? So it's supporting the theme that people often hide their abilities because of the negative expectations of society. So here it is saying that I have an agile mind, that I'm good at something. Who would ever guess that some of us are intelligent? So I'm going to choose B and I'm going to hit save and next. Number 3. So what is the phrase, our color works to camouflage our character and promise, at least in certain eyes, mean as it is used in the poem? Okay, so I can go back into the paragraph, into the poem, maybe read again that section to make sure that I understand. But it's basically asking me, what does this phrase mean as it is used in the poem, in the context of the poem? So I have to make sure that I understand it in the context of the poem. That's why it's always good to go back and refer back to the text. So after I went back and reread, for me, this phrase means that people judge the speaker and people like them because of the color of their skin. So that's what he's talking about. He's referring specifically to racial discrimination. So that's why I chose B. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now, again, I hit number 4 and it's a part A, which tells me there's going to be a follow-up question. So I have to make sure that I get this first part correct. Okay, so it says, how does the word choice in the last 2 stanzas of the poem contribute to the tone? So few things I have to make sure I understand. It's asking me the last 2 stanzas, so I have to understand what a stanza is. Okay, so if we're looking at this poem, sorry guys, my big finger there. Okay, so we know that in a poem, each paragraph basically is considered a stanza. Okay, so I have to go back and it's asking me to refer to the last 2 stanzas of the poem. And it's saying, how does the word choice in those 2 stanzas contribute to the tone? So before I can even answer this question, I have to know what is the tone of this poem. So we've talked about tone. It is basically the mood or the feeling that the reader gets when reading this poem. So in the last 2 stanzas, okay, the author is using words that can be considered a little maybe aggressive. It's talking about, spirits ripped and torn. We leave our dreams bleeding. So it's a little bit aggressive in a way. Okay, so the tone of the poem is not necessarily a happy-go-lucky kind of feeling that I get. It's more of what I consider C. It conveys the speaker's frustration at the injustice they experience. So he's not just telling us about it, but you can feel, you can sense that the speaker is frustrated because of the words that he chooses in those 2 stanzas. So I click C and I go to the next one. So this is a follow-up question to that question. Which quote from the text best supports the answer to part A? So in other words, how did I get that answer? Based on the text. So after reading all 4, I decide that this one is the one that best supports my answer because it says, it's such unfairness what the world is filled with. The evidence is seen in spirits ripped and torn. And I had read that already here. The words here they don't sound like he's somebody that's sad or somebody that's, just resigned, but it sounds like somebody who's frustrated and angry. So that's why I'm going to choose A. And then the last question. This one has one that you have to type in the answer. So what does the masquerade represent in the poem? The masquerade is basically the main symbol in the poem. Now, if you notice, For this one, when I return assignments for redos, this is the one you will actually see what you got on this particular question. So if you've already received a 4 out of 4 and you're redoing this assignment, then you can basically leave this answer alone and submit it again. But if you were to get something less, like a 3 or a 2, then that gives you the opportunity to go back and improve your answer. Okay, so in this case for me, I wrote the masquerade represents the many masks that people wear and the way that society judges based on race, gender, social class, etc. The masquerade also represents the way that society has classified people based on certain characteristics, and people have resigned themselves to be part of that. So again, this is the only question that I grade myself. The multiple choice questions are graded automatically by the system. Okay, so once I do that, I can submit my assignment basically, and I'm done. Okay, so really guys, what I want you to get out of this video is that I believe that the difficulty that some of you guys are having is not understanding what you are reading as far as the stories or the poems, but it's mostly the questions and the way that sometimes they're worded a little differently. So if you notice what I did with the questions, I basically had to dissect the question. You have to understand exactly what it's asking you for. And if you don't understand what something means on there, look it up. Don't just guess, okay? Because it's important. I know you guys can redo your assignments. If you get a low grade, you can redo it. But if you can do better the first time around, then you don't have to worry about redoing assignments. It just takes a little bit of time and close reading. And we have to read closely and understand what the questions are asking of us, okay? So hopefully this helps. And if you watch this, well, then you got all the answers for that particular assignment, so you can always go back and redo that. And any other assignments you want to redo, that's fine. Just let me know. I'll return them to you. You can always improve your grades. And I've seen the difference. I've seen how some of you guys have improved. So I know you can do it. I hope it helps, guys. And sorry that ended up being in 2 different parts. But here it is. Bye.